Hi guys, this is Prajakta here. Welcome to session 4. I hope you all have understood how to record scripts in session 3. In this session, we are working with JMeter's another concept, that is parameterization. Basically, JMeter plays with two main concepts, parameterization and correlation. Parameterization works for multiple data or static data which will be passed through any medium like CSV file or database, and correlation works for dynamic data. In this session, we are covering parameterization. We have already recorded our script in the last session. You can refer session 3 for recording purpose. Okay, so we will check our data in this request. Now, here how this parameterization works. See, parameterization works basically for data-driven testing. During performance test, we have to work with large amount of data. And for every user, different data should be passed, right? And that will be managed through parameterization. You can save data in CSV file or .text file or database anywhere as per your requirement. Here we are using CSV file. Okay, we have to define the variable first in CSV dataset config component and pass in the respective field. Now see how it works. Some steps we have to follow for this. First, we need to identify the data which we want to replace. See, we were referring this site Blaze demo. Now here you can see departure city and destination city. This could be different for different users. Okay, so now we will play with this data. So let's say my first user departure city may be Paris, or destination city will be Rome. Okay, or my second user could be my second user, my departure city would be Paris and destination city can be London. Okay, so first we have to check in which request this data is getting passed. Now you can see here in the reserve request we can find this data from port and to port which we had selected on this page. Okay, in another request also, in the next request purchase.php, here also we can find the same data. Let's see on confirmation page. No, on confirmation page there is no such data like this. So we have to replace the data in these two requests. Okay, so now what to do? We have identified the data which we want to replace. Now keep this data in the Excel sheet. So we have to prepare Excel sheet in CSV format. Okay, so now let's see, my data would be departure city Paris and destination city London. So we have to pass these values Paris and London in the CSV file. So we have to create CSV file. Here I have already put this data in the row column A. I have written Paris and column B London. So I have passed these two values. Now we have to save this CSV file. Save this file in CSV format. Okay, in your respective location. Now what to do? JMeter captures data row-wise per thread group. For example, my first user will capture data from this row 1, my second user will capture data from this row 2, and so on. Now I am keeping only one user, so my first row will be used. Okay, so I have declared, I have passed these two values. So same value for these two values we have to define variables. My first value is for departure port, departure city, and my second value is for my destination city. Okay, so how to perform this in the JMeter? What we do, we will add CSV dataset config. Right click on thread group, add config element CSV dataset config. As we are using CSV file, we have to select CSV dataset config. Okay, make sure your CSV file is under your thread plan. It should not be at random place or at the end of the thread plan. Okay, now how to configure? This is your CSV dataset config page. You have to select your file which we have created in CSV format from your location. So I am selecting my file Session4. Okay, as we have passed these two values, So we have to define two variables for the same. Here I am taking variable names from here itself, from the request. You can choose as per your requirement. So now my first is from port. So I am selecting variable name from port, comma, the value should be comma separated. My second value, that is London, is for to port, right? So I am writing variable to port. Now I have defined these two variables for from port and to port. Okay, now we have to call these variables the same way like we did in user defined variable. In the same way we have to call this in our respective request. Now in this from port, I am replacing this with dollar curly brace from port. Now the same I have to write in the purchase column as well. Then to port, I'll replace to port in the same way in this to request. Okay, so we are done with parameterization for this data. Now we will see how it works. I have added view result tree to check our response. Let's run this script and check how it is replaced. See. Click on run button. Here are our 4 requests. We have passed data in request port, in reserve request and in purchase request. So we have to check these two requests in the view result. Okay, see, this is our reserve request. We have passed Paris and London. Let's check in the request. See, our from port is Paris. Paris is passed in our from port and London is passed in our to port. Similarly, in the purchase request, we can find Paris in the from port and London in the to port. Okay, let's see for two users. Here I am selecting Boston and London as it is. I am keeping London as it is. My second user departure city is Boston and to port is London. Save your file. Now, two rows I am passing two users. We will see this thread group configuration and all in execution part. Now just check parameterization. As I am passing two threads, my two users will be entered in the system during execution. My first user will capture data from the first row, that is Paris and London, and my second user will capture data from the second row. That is, for second user, what data should be passed? For from port it should be Boston and from to port should be London. Let's see. We'll run this script again. This is my first user, this is my second user. For my first user, my data is Paris and London, right? And for the second user, my data is Boston and London. Okay, so our script is ready. That is for parameterization. It is working properly for parameterization. Okay, so this is all about parameterization. This works same way as user defined variable. Okay. In the next session, we will cover correlation. Till then, bye bye. Thank you. Keep practicing.
If you like this video, then please hit like and subscribe button. Thank you.